in the top left-hand side of the map. In the red, the Terran player, he is Time.
And his opponent in the blue, in the bottom right, this is Cyan.
That is, of course, the probe comes in, sees the double gas right now, and Cyan goes, uh-oh, we are being proxied. This was a Nexus before Cybercore. Uh-oh, Cyan is in huge trouble. That is not even building a Zealot, interestingly, but yeah, the Adept is going to be really late. The Adept or Stalker. Oh, this is a rough situation. I think the one thing going for Cyan is because the barracks is so far away, the Reaper is going to take a little bit longer to rally there, but definitely could pick off a couple of probes.
Yeah, let's see how much he can get done here. A lot of players, especially if you've got a lot of PvP experience, will spend a lot of time searching around for the proxies, especially if they go to their opponent's base and see a whole lot of nothing. However, this hits so fast, and all he can really do is chase with probes and run the hurt ones away for the moment.
Oh!
Shield battery! Oh no, he misses out.
Oh, he's not going to get that either.
Again?
No! Oh, Cyan, he really wants to get the battery on the low ground, but not going to be able to get that started. Now has to send a third probe down, and you went for a nice quick Nexus. You're hoping with this opening that Cyan did to get a bit of an economic edge. This is kind of greedy in the current meta to both not scout right after Pylon and then just go Nexus before Core, because the thing is he's committed to this, and then he's scouted and gone, oh no, you actually have your barracks on my side of the map. This is not good for me at all. So an awkward start for Cyan. Is going to have to slowly break down that bunker using Stalkers. Behind this, Hellions, a starport, and now a command center starting up. Oh, look at this lovely micro on the SCV. Every time the Stalkers try to target it, pops out, starts repairing, pops back in.
Gosh, this is so difficult to deal with. It's a lot easier once you got that shield battery to help you out, that's for sure. But this is not the start of the game that Cyan was envisioning, I can tell you that much. And Time back at home is just cruising, man. He's having a field day. He's just continuing up the chain with his tech. He's got CC coming. Everything's coming up Millhouse, and he even gets back into that bunker momentarily again, salvages it, and saves that second Reaper.
Ooh, that's a good opening. Throws a big interruption and disruption into Cyan's play, whose tech is now exceptionally late. Link starting at almost 4 minutes. Well, guess what? There are already a couple of Hellions out, and they are loading into a medevac. Now, this is not a 4 Hellion drop, so you lose a single Hellion, and you do lose that killing power, but no shield battery in the main base means that's not as important, right? You can still just double shot the probes. You don't have to worry about that healing as much, and it's going to go straight towards the main base. Cyan does not have a spotter in the top right of his base at this moment.
Oof, this could be a little bit rough for Cyan, who's already dealing with a suboptimal commencement to this game, let's say. Those Hellions are going to drop very peacefully in that corner in the shadows and roll on in. Let's see how many kills he's going to get. He's maybe got a few lineups here in prime position already. The Stalkers come in, though.
Oh, wow, though. Look at that.
Back. God, that's so many kills.
Did stay a bit too long. Could have got that medevac out of there. But, yeah, that's a couple. Yeah, a couple. maybe a slight lead there for Time. It's massive. That's so terrible for Cyan. And, you know, when you take damage like this, I always try to think about it. If the Protoss has a third Nexus finished, it's not the end of the world. Recoverability is actually a possibility. But if you haven't even started your third Nexus, it's like, ooh, there's a quicker third command center. There's more waves of pressure coming in with Cloaked Banshees. And it's just going to be such an explosive economic buildup for Time. Cyan, I feel like in this scenario, you have to really show what your most special strategy is. I don't think you want to play anything safe. You want to play something really dangerous, cut some corners, and most certainly you do not want to be taking more harassment damage. This is huge.
Yeah, I love this follow-up from Time. It's just blow after blow for Cyan, who can't catch a break. He never quite has enough or the right positioning for his units to clean it up in time. Yes, the Banshee goes down, so that's a small win for Cyan, but it comes at the cost of 9 probes when he's already lost so many. I mean, you just see that worker count struggling to climb. Another Banshee's already out.
Yeah, you're not meant to have lost 25 workers by the 6-minute mark in this matchup. It is a terrible situation for Cyan, who's got a handful of Blink Stalkers, each one which needs to kill a Banshee, 3 siege tanks, and 12 SCVs. If Cyan can do that, he's back in this game right now. He is trailing. He's going to try to get some presence. But the fact that there's another Banshee that's snaked around him is a big problem.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a bother, to say in the least. Cyan, I like this move. He's trying to find any way to do damage. He's getting a little bit of vision here as well, just being a pest. But time's sort of everything. He's even got a siege tank up there to make even that little bit of harassment difficult. And then he comes once again with the Banshee. Only gets a couple of kills, but can save that for later or keep dipping between the main and the natural, getting more kills. It ties up some of those stalkers that Cyan has and gives him one more thing to think about.
I really love the way Terrans are just doing this heavy aggression early on into that third command center. Ooh, good snipe there. Takes out a reactor that's building. Oh, doesn't finish it off, unfortunately. But picking off a few Marines and SCV is good. Micro from Cyan. I think Cyan's already kind of chilled out in this situation. Is really quite a calm player when he's competing. So I don't think he's freaking out here. I think he's just kind of going, you know what? We'll just try to get up maybe 55 workers, make a ton of zealots. We'll look for the perfect engagements, get as much work out of our blink stalkers as possible. He knows it's a very low chance of winning, but he's going to do what he can, make a play, and try to get a bit warmed up, hopefully, and shake off the rust. Because this game one, sometimes you just start off there, maybe not rust, but you're just not quite in the zone. And a bit of a rough opening where you try to be greedy. You're expecting them to play a bit more of a standard opening. You check the common proxy barracks spots. You don't see it there. You go, oh yeah, let's be greedy. Let's go Nexus before core. Bam. Suddenly you're starting off on the back foot, and then you're not ready for the Hellion drop as well. You're not ready for the Banshees behind that. I mean, this has just been a disaster at every turn. Every single piece of Time's harassment has paid off so well.
Absolutely. He's prevented Cyan from hitting his stride, right? Like, he made him look like a little bit of a scrub early on because there's just nothing he could really do about each bit of harassment, at least not for a while. And now Cyan's had to move back. Stim's finished, so that one window where he could be a little bit annoying with the stalkers has mostly closed. That said, though, he comes back in and he's found a spot in the natural with it. There's no friends protecting those SCVs, but Time isn't going to turn back. He's going to stim forward. This is a huge force. The chargers come forward, force fields come down, but even EMPs are already out on the field pig, and they go straight on top of those immortals and stalkers that are left over there.
Well, there's right idea there from Cyan, but just in terms of the numbers, it was essentially a couple of farmers with pitchforks ambushing an armored column. You know, it's not going to go well. They're in tanks. There's just not enough Protoss units. The numbers aren't there. Time massively ahead on all fronts. We'll finish the game off here, but you can see Cyan still just warping in, microing, trying to play it out, trying to put a bit of pressure on Time, working it as well as he could. And you can see he's got a lot of talent and skill as a player. Comes into this game not as massively behind, and he can put up a bit more of a fight. But an easy game one victory there for Time. Everything going and react. Down here in the bottom left-hand side, a rough start to the series. Hopefully he's cleared the mental slate and go into this game with a fresh mindset. He is Cyan.
And over in the top right, the dominator of this region, it is Time.
I like Cyan taking the risk in game one, but Time mission successful scared Cyan back into a safer opening, a less economic build order, an earlier probe scout, the Nexus going down a little bit later. It's not a massive change, but it already just leads you to kind of say, okay, yeah, I mean, you're forcing Cyan to be nice and honest here, and that's important. Sometimes underdogs can really smash a player who you think is favored versus them. If that favored player gets complacent, doesn't kind of probe and test their opponent and actually go out there and constantly go, hey, wait a second, I got to check that you're being honest. I'm going to make sure you're safe. I'm not going to take anything for granted because I know that if I give you too much room, you're going to, you know, cut corners. You're going to be greedy here and there. You might surprise me with some hidden proxy all-ins. Starcraft's a lot about information, and this is why little bits of pressure and sometimes even big all-in attacks are good ways to just keep your opponent honest and gather that information.
Absolutely. And with that core first here, he's going to poke up with the Adept. He's got a second one on the way. And that CC finishes just in the nick of time to avoid being cancelled there. Very nicely done, saving it by loading it up before more from the orbital there. very cool little move. This is something that, of course, you need to be careful of as a Terran, especially if you skimp on the bunker. You don't want to be losing out to those early units coming in. So these shades are just going to give Cyan a little bit of vision, as he has dropped a couple of gates behind us, going into the Twilight, but already has this proxy pylon ready to go.
Yeah, second and third gateway before tech here, so it looks like Cyan wants to do some sort of pressure, and I'm wondering exactly what it's going to be. Obviously, unfortunately, they're a little bit of an issue, so we're just going to sort that one out quickly, as the players, of course, don't want to be playing with any sort of lag or anything like that. But yeah, 3 gateways before tech is actually a big commitment. That is actually really large. That's actually massive. So wants to do a lot of damage here. Hellions, Marines, and Medevac. These units can defend, but without a bunker against 3-gate warp in, it can get dicey.
It certainly can. And we were talking about not wanting to skimp on too much and cut corners. You know, likewise, the Terran has to be a little bit wary. Now, Cyan has kept good vision on what Time has so far. Time has a fair few Marines having that reactor pumping out, but still a scary moment. Oh, we can't be losing that. I was going to say gets to repair. He does not. The Adepts are going to get targeted down really nicely, though. SCV's having to come off the line to help out here against the Stalkers, because they do have great micro potential against those Marines. The bunker is getting close to finishing. Wow, that was a dicey moment for Time there. He's just patrolling the top of the ramp for a moment here, trying to keep those Stalkers at bay.
Yeah, keeping the SCVs there, realizing how dicey this situation is. The bunker is now up, so I think he's got to fall back to that, but he wants to hold the high ground. Those Stalkers are so weak right now. So many red hit point Stalkers. Time grabs one more before retreating to the bunker. He's got a siege tank up now. A good hold for Time. Now, Cyan's still doubling down a little bit, and with that tank up, with that bunker up, this may be an overextension. However, that siege tank's very far forward, Zeph. Those Stalkers, though, they are so soft right now.
Yeah. Does make me a little bit nervous with that position. He actually gets all the way into the main. This complicates things for Time, who is mostly banking on defending at that front door there. But with the siege tank, Cyan is backing off. He's not brave enough to continue to commit here. 2 more worker kills taken there from Cyan.
Yeah, a bit of miss micro with those Adepts. Cyan, of course, is trying to transition behind this into a Warp Prism, into what appears to be a mass blink sort of style. Third Nexus starts up, but I think Cyan has to get some work done. Could have got at least 2 or 3 more SCVs with those Adepts, I do believe. But a nice hold by Time, who's now just adding on the 3rd command center, the extra barracks. The Marine production off that reactor has just not stopped all game long. A great hold for Time. Skipping the bunker early on, honestly, building Hellions, not having a super quick tank. I think Cyan was hoping to get a bit more with this, and it was very close to. I actually think maybe that Adept Shade, when he first got the medevac, should have been cancelled, because he kind of got those 3 Hellions surrounded, whereas if they were able to micro back and forth a little bit more, I actually think they could have been a lot more effective.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about this. He's already taking tank shots. He targets the Raven. It gets the auto turret down, though. This siege tank gets targeted too, though, and those Marines are having to micro back. Not a huge number of Stalkers left here, though. He's gonna have to blink onto that low ground. The auto turret adding a lot of DPS there. Might need another tank up there momentarily, though, as Cyan continues to warp in here.
Well, you know the saying, go hard or go home. Well, unfortunately for Time, Cyan's parents only ever taught him, go hard, never go home. He's just going to attack, attack, attack. He has not left Time's doorstep for the last 3 minutes, and he doesn't have any plans of doing it. He's probing behind it, but it's like, I'm going to keep chipping away at you, picking units off where I can, and I'm only going to kind of tech and transition behind that. So Cyan here really trying to just create as many problems for Time as possible. It seems to be working out okay. I think what always worries me in this situation is that you just overstep one time too many and lose too many Stalkers. You lose a whole bunch of those Stalkers, and they're not going to be easy to replace. Meanwhile, 5 barracks production's about to kick in. There's tank accounts slowly building here, and Time, I think, you know, with this 3rd base only now getting just saturated on the minerals, it looks good. You're like, oh yeah, he's got a 3rd. The other one hasn't landed. Well, the thing is, when that lands, it's already going to have quite a few SCVs on it. Already 10 SCVs can move down there.
Time just does not miss a beat with his macro, does he? And now he's finally bullied those stalkers away. They can keep lurking around, maybe taking some pot shots off at the units here because it's not a ton. You do have to watch it a little bit though. You don't want to be losing anything that you desperately want to keep, such as those siege tanks. So he's finally going to clear up that pylon and get that third base saturated. Stim very close to finishing here as well, and that's where time gets even more deadly because that's the key upgrade, right, for Terrans in general. That's what you want to roll out with. So a small skirmish with these stalkers once again here on the front lines, but he's positioning up nicely here with the tanks.
Cyan Stalker control is excellent. Snipes and Marauder gets out. It just keeps doing little moves like this. I look at this and I'm like, oh no, it's a Protoss player who feels like they do too much with their Blink Stalkers. And then I'm like, oh no, he's actually doing it. He's just chipping away. He's being very careful with it. He's not overcommitting. It's very easy to overstep your bounds or to find very little. But Cyan seems to be just treading that narrow line, picking off units without overcommitting very well. Has a bunch of Colossus up, a few Archons in the mix. It's now going into double Robo Disruptor as well as Warp Prism speed. This is fantastic play from Cyan, who I think the only thing missing right now is that fourth base. Because that's not there, it does look like Time will get ahead in supply in the next minute or two. But in terms of positional, tech-wise, army-wise, Cyan's looking great.
Yeah. I gotta say, I really love this idea of just being in Time's face constantly. That's one of the only ways I think you can really throw him off because he's so strong with his macro. We've seen a lot of matches already where he kills people with his very first push, and with Cyan constantly being up in his grill, you prevent him from even really having that opportunity to decisively move out, at least at the timings that he's hoping to hit, because he's constantly having to deal with your nonsense. So Cyan has done a great job of keeping him busy for sure. That Nexus at the fourth base is now halfway done, and by the time they engage, those disruptors are going to be in the mix. He may very well have +2 already, and look at that composition. It's really starting to round out.
Yeah, disruptors now coming in. Second Forge is up and upgrading. There's a big upgrade lead, or there will be one for Cyan in this game. You know, right now it's 1-1 for Time. But as 2-1 kicks in, that's going to reverse. And I think Cyan's going to creep ahead in the upgrades as the 2+2 attacks starts there for Time. You don't want to get surrounded. This is still a small Protoss army, so you got to be a little careful if Time starts moving out of the map. But damn, that's a quick fourth base. This macro, hot damn.
Cyan is trying to keep an eye on how Time's moving here to see if he can spot an opportunity. He's got a small squad over towards the left of the map that's going to circle around towards that fourth base. And charge lots, as we all know, slice and dice their way through everything so quickly, especially if you're not paying attention. At the same time, a Warp Prism's looking to come in. Nice. Missile turret positioning may prevent that, but the bulk of the army is also positioned towards the third. So it looks like that Warp Prism gets cleaned up very nicely. And the charge lots have been watered away for the moment. Cyan not quite able to get in here just yet. Might get this tank though.
Wow, Cyan's getting antsy right now. Wants to pick off a few of these units, shave off some of the tanks, start landing some disruptor shots. If you can push the tanks back, you open up opportunities for your disruptors to start trading. Time, though, wants to punish this absolutely mad rush forward from Time. He senses that this army's a little bit weak. He says, how dare you bully me in my territory? This is my ground. Time pushes forward. He grabs a lot of the expensive Protoss units. A nice punish there from Time. A lot of Terran players are too afraid to run towards those disruptor shots, but Time, he just spread well. He came in on that left flank big. There was not enough force fields to cut him out, and I think Cyan there got punished a little bit for being too over-eager. Now he's still building lots of disruptors. He's got the DTs on the way. I like that second prism on the right-hand side. I think that one's got a big chance of getting into the main.
Yeah, really nicely done. Continuing with this aggression even after being beaten back. Time defending brilliantly so far, but that gets really tricky with all these disruptors. Beautiful EMPs there on the front lines. He splits very well there to avoid the hits too, but Cyan's given him even more to think about. He's got DTs in the mix. There's no detection here at this base. He's got to rely on a scan. May want to stick down a missile turret, and he does drop one as I say that. Chargelot's going to find themselves a ghost here in the main base too, and Time is going to have to send something over to deal with that as well.
DTs and Zards trying to get in the bases, trying to create some chaos. The thing is, time is so turtled up, these sort of moves actually need to be directly cost efficient. Because what's happening is he's so turtled up tight on 4 bases. Normally, these sort of moves are meant to distract the Terran, so your main army can swing in, kill a base. That opportunity is not opening itself, right? Cyan does not have a big enough army to punish on the front because of that earlier fight. And these fights, like 10 SCVs, oh, that's great. No, it's actually kind of bad. Head-to-head, efficiency-wise, that is way in Time's favor. Those DTs and Zealots are expensive units. And because Time has lots of mules, he's got a 5th command center finish, he's rebuilding, you know, the economy so easily. He's still got 70 SCVs after 10 worker damage. He doesn't care about that. And it's the efficiency that's hurting Cyan, who needs to get forward on this map now. It looks like Time wants to come out and take a 5th base. I was about to say he's about to come out and push, but clearly that's never his plan. Time just wants to defend and chill.
Yeah, this is unusual. We're so used to seeing Time being the aggressor. He's the one that's constantly pushing out on the map, but Cyan's really flipped the script here, and I gotta say I'm enjoying this play from him. He's had a hard time finding ways to capitalize, though. He really hasn't had that huge disruptor hit or that big warp in of DTs and Zealots that's crippled his economy. Nothing like that. Time's defense has been absolutely stellar, so I guess he's happy to just weather the storm here and look for those moments where Cyan commits and perhaps gets a little bit overconfident so he can swarm in and try and punish him like we saw with that first engagement. He definitely seems very patient here, looking for the right moment. That's about 800 DTs marching in, though. That could change things here.
Yeah, he does scan and EMP all those DTs on the left. They have to pull back. There's not many siege stacks here. A couple of disruptors will take down some of them, but at the same time, a triple drop in the bottom answers in kind. That Nexus, the recall does complete, but the Nexus gets sniped.
Little bit too late there. Those medevacs barely get out. Oh, I take it back. Nice snipes for Cyan. A consolation prize after losing the Nexus, I suppose, there. But that's the most aggressive we've seen Time this whole game, and he definitely got something done there. And he may want to also bounce over to the left side, do something similar. Oh man, these DTs.
Cyan. Yeah, this is a lot of players, you know, they had so much success with Blink DTs, and the thing is, the way this works is when the Terran pushes on the map, it is so hard for them to micro against mass disruptor shots. It takes so much APM that DTs will always find an opening. They'll find weakness. Time's not moving out, though. He's not giving that opportunity. Now he finally does, but his base is like a screen from Cyan's base. So it's so easy for him to just push across one directionally now. A nice move out from Time. Does lose some tanks to disruptor shots. Ooh, a big move forward here from Time. There's a lot of disruptor shots left over, though.
Gosh, they're endless. Cyan's doing a great job with those, but now they seem to have run out, and Time is doing a pretty good job pressing forward here. He targets down those disruptors anytime he gets a chance. A lot of Zealots warping in here may complicate things for the Marauders, but there's like,
the DTs.
Oh my gosh, so many medevacs. It's like each unit has its personal healing pack behind it. But yes, you're right. With those DTs, he does have to back up for a minute.
This is a good hold for Cyan, but losing a lot of units, and it's not every day you see a player with 12 disruptors run out of disruptor shots, but it was just the way Time took that position, trying to fight around the angle like he was. It was very awkward for Cyan, and I think he's got to rebuild that disruptor count, but he hasn't done it. He's making a mostly Archon army here. How many ghosts have we got on the map? Because I feel like if there's enough EMPs, this Protoss army will just disappear.
There's only a couple by the looks of it here. He does have the EMP upgrade. Liberators coming into the mix here shortly, 4 at a time. Ooh, EMP not the greatest here. He's still looking for the right way to engage this big chunky Archon army. Only a couple of disruptors in the mix to worry about, but he's going to try and move in here at the same time, going to the Nexus. He sees the recall and pulls back immediately, not interested in losing too many forces there.
Right-hand side, though, immediately Time's like, hey, you pull to the left with the recall. I will punish that right-hand side again. Jumps straight on back in. Cyan kind of realizes it, but a little bit too late when his instincts kicked in. That base, oh, he does get there just in time.
Yeah, and he escapes with only a couple of Marauder deaths on the tail end there. Looks like Cyan is once again moving out towards the left-hand side of the map as time swoops in. That's a lot of Archons on the front lines. Not any EMPs left. The Liberators are set up, and it looks like he's winning that fight quite decisively. However, DTs have now chosen the opportunity to blink into that third base. A zillion SCVs going down behind this. He's going to need a lift. There it is. But time is going to continue pressing forward with the army that he has. He knows he's got the better fighting force at the moment.
Yeah, big disruptor shot coming out, but a good spread from time avoids most of the damage, and that's been the story of this. And this is the moment where DTs are so good, but you need to also have disruptors at home defending, and he's lost all of his disruptors before this. Oh, the Colossus actually doing an amazing job, though. Those Colossus and Stalkers on hold position, losing that Nexus is not the end of the world. He's actually doing more economic damage to time than he is taking, and Cyan's so patient for so long. He put himself in such a good position, but now suddenly he gets knocked back down. 33 workers, way down in supply from where he was. I mean, it felt like he was ahead all game long, and now suddenly Cyan's like, hey, I've still got a few bases mining fresh on the left. A bit of a scrappy fight here. The Libs caught unsieged.
They do siege up at the last moment, but that's a lot from Cyan. Does time actually have enough to beat this back? Because there's more DTs lurking around here. 3 more Liberators left over as well, but there's a lot of Stalkers here. This isn't even that much of a chunky robo army at this point. Time is just trying to get whatever units he can together to hold this off. Is he doing it? Does he have enough? He does not. Cyan takes a brilliant game number 2. And this, in the top right with a sensational win from Bravestar Gaming, this is Cyan.
And down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, in the blue, the King of China, he is Time.
He's certainly become very well-rounded, and this is something that Maynard brings up a bit. People have been sleeping on Time. They forget how good he is, and I have to say, I put Cyan in that bucket as well. I don't think he's gotten his name out there too much, because he is actually quite a formidable player, maybe lacking a little bit of a consistency that Time has. But with Time being the reigning champion of the region, it makes it a little bit hard to be like, hey guys, by the way, I'm still here and I'm still really good, because the other guy's qualifying every season at the moment. But yeah, this is just such a pleasure to watch. And a cute little skirmish here in the early game. The Reaper trying to do its best here, but will escape the wrath of the Adept there.
No scouts for you. That's definitely the Adept's job here is don't let you see what's going on in this base. Don't let you see that Stargate. And it was obviously good that it got in and got a probe early on anyway. So nice micro from Time nonetheless. But Adept here. Second gateway goes down in the wall. That is, of course, a dead Adept. No way you can evade that shade unless you bounce at the perfect moment.
Oh my goodness.
Well done.
He's a wizard. Yep. Gonna be able to keep that scout alive. Just misses the Oracle, though, as Insano shows us there on the cam. Oh, doesn't make it into the main. Cyan, big brain, knows exactly where to put that Adept to deny the scouting. There is a mine here for defense, but it's over at the front. The Marines, however, are positioned close by for the defense of that mineral line. More mines being pumped out here in the background, ready for a mine drop. However, with the Oracle coming in, he should be well aware of what he's facing and knows that he needs to look out for those mines.
That was really well done. Cyan not turning the laser beam off. Going into the main, gets the SCV building the barracks, which is the most annoying SCV to lose, because you've immediately got to put a new one on, and then pulls on out of there and even forces more mining time in the natural. Now, that's awesome. Keep in mind, Time has gone to 3 barracks really quickly. No third command center, which is normally what players favor against a Stargate opening. So Cyan has all the information here and fully can expect just a very, a big old tank push, lots of bio, stim, maybe a Raven, but most likely it's just going to be like probably 4 medevacs, 2 siege tanks, a whole bunch of bio, maybe even Widow Mines in the mix. And because of that, notice the Stargate production is cut. It's just straight into Blink, third base, and Cyan is going to look to jump that gateway count up pretty soon. I would imagine cutting probes, maybe at about 52, throwing down a whole bunch of gateways and trying to scout. It's very important for him to see, is there a third command center from Time, or is he just committing super hard to this push?
Yeah, luckily with that Oracle, he has a lot of scouting ability. He can keep the revelations on the army, understand the movement, what's coming down here. He's got the Adepts positioned here nicely on the third as well to make sure he's covered all his bases. And those two drops, ill-fated. Gonna move out just as that Oracle swings by as well. So that gives him about as much warning as you could ever hope for. Stalkers move out here for a second. Consider intercepting, however. Does just peel the one off.
It's a
Looks
trap.
like Time's trying to bait him into this.
Ooh, 3 Adepts come in though. They were ready for the counter. The bio on the left is still going to start engaging. A bunch of SCVs will go down. Nice little push forward here. No shield battery on the third. A bit of a panic blink backwards here. And ooh, Revelation does come in, but the bio doing pretty well so far. And does blink there. Just only takes a tiny bit of splash damage. 6 SCVs go down, but 9 probes do fall of his own, and a quick evacuation from Time. A wise decision as these Stalkers on the hunt looking for those medevacs. Will they get them? I don't think so.
Just a little bit too slow. The second boost comes in and those Marines can unload, meet up with their buddies. I really liked how Cyan dealt with those mines, didn't take too many shots there. Getting a little bit fresh with the bio. With the Marauders in the mix, it's a little bit harder to take those small fights, but he's still looking for ways to do damage, knowing Time doesn't have a third base. And we've already seen how well he does with this sort of harassment. He snipes the tank immediately. Medevacs coming in nice and slow here to try and help out the bio and hold on to
Get the command center.
here.
Get the command center. Oh, okay. Wants to keep the Stalkers alive. He's going to prioritize that. Good blink backs. That was a really good trade for Cyan, taking out some of those units. Remember, he already knows he's ahead in upgrades, so even trades, I think, are good for him right now. Obviously, he doesn't want to lose too many Stalkers, but getting a tank, a bunch of Marauders there, and this will just, okay, I've seen your third base, no worries. I'll drop a second forge. I'll start a Robo up there as well. This is all fantastic play from Cyan, who now bypasses this army. Is going to come in on the natural for a bit of a run by. He's going to catch these depots are building. This is awesome play from Cyan. So active with these Blink Stalkers.
Gosh,
Oh,
he's
was
so
he gone
good
too
with
deep?
these. Well, he might get a lot of damage if he targets down those workers. He goes for the recall there to get those out of there, and he is successful. I think he maybe only lost one Stalker on the tail end of that. Goes back home, warps in. He's got 66 probes. That's full saturation on his 3 Nexuses there. Getting upgrades out here too. He will take the lead in just a little while with that. And now heading into that Templar Archive so he can start adding in that charge that he likes so much. A few Archons. And of course, there's that Warp Prism on the way as well. And that's when the harass can really ramp up if he wants to continue with that multi-prong attacking. He's already got some Zealots ready to go on the left there.
Oh, this is such good play from Cyan. The 4th base is already up, but not probing it too hard, just kind of mixing units and probes and realizing, oh, okay, you're not going to push. You're actually turtling up now. Well, you know what? I'm going to probe my 4th base and get that mineral line fully saturated. It's a low gas mass zealot style from Cyan, which is really good right here and now. If Time pushes out, he will get absolutely destroyed by Cyan. Could pick off 2 Stalkers, but if he just adds lots of ghosts and upgrades, like the longer it goes, mass zealot's not that effective. That being said, on this map, I think it's almost always going to find an angle. There's just such wide open spaces. There's no wall off on the natural. You can see these Zealots and Stalkers coming in. Zealots coming on the left to attack the 3rd base. I don't know how Time can cover everything.
Yeah, this is a tricky map, I feel, for Terran, trying to defend multiple angles and find the right positions. Zealots kind of come in a small group at a time. He does deal with the back end, but the front end, maybe a little bit of carnage here. The Zealots are getting dealt with. And he does deflect that with the 3 siege tanks firing on those. Not looking too bad for the moment. Continuing that SCV production 3 at a time, starting to catch up to his opponent now. But Cyan is going to continue at least a little bit of aggression at all times now, moving that Warp Prism around to the left side.
I think Cyan maybe thought Time was moving out there or something, because that was a really sloppy engagement. Cyan, as you pointed out, those Zealots came in on the left. And his army was still getting set up on the right, so it was like a very disjointed attack. He force-fielded back his own Zealots as well. Oh, and now the Prism goes down as well. Such good play by Time. His supply's starting to get way ahead. I mean, he's been turtling. But now he kind of says, wait a second, I've just shut down your aggression. Sweet, I can build a 4th command center on location. I can go double upgrades into 2-2. I can start building my army bigger. Remember, Time was so far behind in terms of like the bases and the flexibility that after these series of fights, now Time has like this breathing room, can calm down, take a few deep breaths. Cyan's got 5 bases, has a crazy mineral income, but Mass Zealot is not going to cut the mustard when you get to max supply. EMPs and Mass Bio, when they get to a certain size of ball, melee units are just not going to be good enough.
Yeah, it looks like Time's found his rhythm again here. He's looking very comfortable. This isn't so different from the last map either. He's just decided to take it slow, solidify his position, get closer and closer to max, and then do some aggression if Cyan isn't in his face, or wait for that big counterattack opportunity. There's got to be a fair chunk of ghosts out by now as well. The EMP upgrade has only just started. But oh, okay, I thought there were a fair few more on the field. There's only 2 so far, but he is continuing to produce there a little bit. But this defensive position is really nice, especially with the sensor turret. He can see pretty much anything on that left side that's going to be coming in. There's a little bit of airspace you can't see, so I suppose there's an opportunity for the warp prism to slip by there. And that's exactly where it's positioned, funnily enough.
Stalkers do see this army moving out. You know what? It's a massive economy for Cyan. 6 bases, but it's mostly minerals, it's mostly zealots, and soon to be Blink DTs. 2-2 upgrades aren't quite ready just yet, but oh, that prism could open things up in a big way. The DTs are such a big threat in this situation. Time does not have turrets ringing his bases just yet, and ooh, that prism. Okay, well done. That prism is going to cause a lot of havoc in the main base. Time scrambling to get back there.
Yeah, has to pull everything back. That's always really rough when you're trying to pull a move there. 7 SCVs go down. The warp prism will fall to those Vikings, but you know, this served its purpose. It got a whole bunch of workers and it made Time abandon the thought of a push here. DT's coming into this base. Scan. Oh, he's not going to be able to save it. There's not enough repair surface area. Beautifully done from Cyan. Great snipe there, and at the same time moving in on this 3rd base as well.
Yeah, the siege tank's getting sniped. Very important. Those are kind of the anchors. Uh-oh, the EMPs though, and get out of there. Cyan's got to run. He tries to force field, but he's getting cornered. He overstayed his welcome there, and it does get a few SCVs, snipes the 4th base. Cyan's got a crazy amount of money, but I feel like he needs to keep a lot of his army on the other side of the map, ready to base trade, ready to counterattack, and he's warping in 10 Blink DTs at a time as Cyan. Another warp prism going into the main. He wants Time to get over eager and come across the map. This is actually probably playing into Cyan's hands, to be honest. DT's going across zealots in the main base. This is about to get really rough for Time. He's got to deal with so many things going on at once.
He certainly does. Charge loss in his face here. The siege tank right in the middle, doing a lot of shell damage. It looks like he's going to take out that army, but 10 DTs, what a way to spend your bank. Cyan is going to wreak havoc with that as well. He may lose it next year, but could this be another scenario where he loses more on the other side, the Terran that is, than he does to the Protoss? Missile turret up the front here, not quite ready.
Look at that though, rank gathering everything in the natural. Just kind of gave up his main temporarily, gathered it all together, and I was really confused by that fight that Cyan took. He kind of went for the engage on the front, and it was like, I kind of get it, right? You're on Zealots. The thing is, like, last game you had Colossus and Disruptors to defend on, right? When Time gets forced to go all in, and the DTs, I mean, there's not many scans left, so maybe Cyan can do it with DTs. He's got so many bases on the left, but just lost some gateways, and when the gateways in his main get depowered, that's where Cyan is out of play. He's also very low on gas mining right now, and the DT Shrine, the 3-3, the gateways, it's all going to go down.
He's going to lose it all. There's a base in the bottom right that I don't think Cyan knows about as this happens. The CC is going to go down. Great targeting from Cyan to make sure that doesn't get away. Well, Cyan's going to find out about that when he tries to drop a nexus there. This is one of those don't base traded Terran scenarios, but Cyan has a lot more mining. He's got a lot more workers left here as well. He's going to pounce on top of his army. There's a lot of DTs left over, a lot of charge on the front lines, and that bio gets shredded. There's not a lot left there to defend at home.
Yeah, there's no production right now for Cyan. That is Cyan's problem. He's going to mine a few thousand more resources just while Time's trying to get over. Time is realizing just how many bases Cyan has, and he's like, what the heck? How much infrastructure did you get up in this game, you psychopath? This is crazy. His own bases are all going down. That Widow mines, they take out a couple Stalkers, not bad. Good little hold here by Time. He's, I mean, not hold, but I guess like a defense. He's killing a bunch of Stalkers with just this handful of units. This is making the most of a terrible situation. Gets in a nice probe recall. This is just to the south, though. Those probes are still got to get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
Oh, DTs are on the army, I think. DTs just hit the army. Oh, they got scanned. I think it was a couple DTs went down. I'm not sure how many. If we could keep it on the units tab, I think that's very important because there's no more DT production and they're all dead. Yeah, they all ran into the army and just died.
Damn.
So 9 Zealots, 11 Stalkers, that's not going to be enough to fight this. He's got to play the elimination game, and you know what? With no flying units and a bunch of barracks floating off on the dead space, there's no way you can win this game as Cyan unless you can get Stargates up, and that doesn't seem very likely.
That's rough. I thought maybe with DTs left over, because time is really limited on detection and scans, but yeah, his standing force is just looking a lot better than his opponents right now. Great job depowering all those key structures, getting rid of the nexuses, and now he's still got a CC in reserve. I think he may have one more somewhere. Oh, that's just the other one. But yeah, if he can, you know, sort of get moving here, mining, defend that base. I mean, already he's got so much more than Cyan. Cyan's got a whole lot of money. He just hasn't really been able to spend it. Maybe now that he's not supply blocked, he could potentially get a bit more if he can drop those pylons on key structures. But he's going to go for a bit of a cleanup crew run over at Time's base to try and hinder his progress here.
Well, this is that funny situation where Time is kind of just turtling on that command center, but without an SCV to build depots, or mine, you know, you're kind of just like, oh, you're gonna have to split up at some point as Time if you wanna win. And there's a Void Ray coming out, right, which can pick off the barracks. This is really well done by Cyan. I honestly thought after that first big Zealot attack failed on the third base that he was in a lot of trouble, because it was going to be so awkward to ever progress the tech. I was like, yeah, I don't know if you ever get to Colossus off this. Instead, though, the DTs turned out to be a very good idea. That was an odd scan.
He got rid of the observer.
Ah.
Cyan was just having a peek at what his mate was doing over here in the corner. And he moves forward, snipes that tank, which is really nicely done. Those structures are now going to try and find a new home on the opposite side of where he originally spawned. And that is still a formidable force for Cyan to contend with. It's going to be hard for him to close the distance here. I think Time might have spotted that little observer there again, but the Stalkers, here they come across the map, looking maybe for a snipe. I'm not really sure what the game plan is here for him.
Gets a ghost, runs. Not a bad way to go. The ghost sound effect is one of the funniest things. Always dramatic, the ghosts when they do go down, but that bio's coming forward. Maybe a bit too far forward. The Zealots and Stalkers try to jump on it, but the rest is right behind it, and that's a lot of medevac still.
Ooh, big EMP on those back units. He's going to micro nicely away from those Zealots. Moving forward now, it's too much for Cyan, and Time. Whew, down to the last few structures, but with a strong army, we'll take a 2. Eyes on it. Let's see if he can work his magic again on this map in the bottom right, in the blue. Once again from Brave Star Gaming, it's Cyan.
He's got, of course, someone who is very, very difficult to play against. He is the king of China. He has been dominant in the region in the last couple of years. It is Time. This is a good opening. I like this play from Cyan, just kind of comfortable. He's got the Nexus up at a good time, the second gas coming down as well. Definitely nice and safe, but you know, you see the Adepts. I think we're going to see a big focus, though, on just going straight across the map. Notice how the probe is following Time's SCV. So that's very important, because Cyan does not want the tech to get scouted. He's going to go 2 Adepts again, same as last game. If I remember, last game it was Stargate. This guy, it is Robo. So likely we'll see early Prism harass, maybe straight up into Colossus. Wanted to make sure that SCV was going home so that he could send the first Adept straight across the map to pressure. Obviously isn't worried about a Reaper because he saw that it was Marine first. So Cyan here, very comfortable to just say, hey, you don't have any idea what I'm doing next. You've got to play blind.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And he does get the SCV that was building the command center this time. It did finish, just didn't get to do the cool style points move of saving the SCV inside the command center before it went down. And again, this is one of those moments where no bunker kind of sucks. dealing with that early poke harass from your opponent. A Stalker's going to be following this up as well. But,
Aliens and mines as well, like 2 at a time. These are good harassment units, but they're not really good in a pitched battle, right? So,
precisely.
I mean,
yeah.
this could get a little bit awkward. Of course, good raises on the wall, but it's all about the Widow Mines creating these safe zones. This is really funky. The Hellions are going to try and kite here and just not go too far from the Widow Mines. They're doing really well. Nice micro.
Yeah, Cyan's capitalizing wherever he can, getting a couple of workers here and there. But yeah, you're right. With those mines, he's now created a little bit wider of a safe zone as 4 are out. A Liberator is going to be the follow-up of choice, and that is going to be something that he can send across the map. It's not in immediate danger. The Adepts come in again, looking for a mine snipe, and they do get it. And there we go. He finally cleans up those Adepts. Very annoying start to the game for Time, but Cyan continuing this theme of being very aggressive and very annoying to Time, keeping him at home with those units.
I like the way it's played. I think this is a really good way to play the matchup. Don't let the Terran just be the one running around with Widow Mine drops and Hellions darting in and all this sort of stuff. I mean, look at this now. Time is just like, I really wanted to be aggressive this game. Instead, he's like, okay, I just got to use these mines and you know, I'll do a two Hellion poke. The mines are just on defense duty. You're walled off. I really can't find an angle to do anything. And the Observer sees everything as well. So I think the Stalker should be positioned for the Liberator. As I say that, they look like they're maybe about to move across the map.
Well, as long as he's in the main, he doesn't have too far to go to try and deal with that Liberator. Colossus coming through in the Warp Prism. That's so fun. You can be really annoying with that if he wants to do the like little Colossus drop harass. Got to be a tad careful. He does end up having that Warp Prism spotted by the Hellions, so if Time's paying attention, that should ring a couple of alarm bells. Liberator does get set up here. Isn't going to get too many shots off before going down. Gets a Stalker and a single probe.
Good defense so far by Cyan, who's got that third base up now. The Hellions not even able to take the probe out. Colossus is here, can disrupt the production, try and pick off some of these SCVs. Siege Tank is not actually close enough that it fully zones out, but doesn't want to risk going too deep, and that's understandable.
Yep. Second mine. Oh my goodness. Pick up a little late there. He actually gets smacked in the face. It's a very low Colossus now, but luckily for Cyan, there's not really anything there that can press the issue. And Cyan moves forward, snipes the mine on the front lines there. There is a bunker and a siege tank, so he doesn't have to sweat or anything about getting beaten up by blink stalkers or anything at this point in time. But that Colossus is still going to be patrolling and doing some damage. Nice siege tank positioning there at the natural, though, is going to prevent that. In the natural mineral line, at the very least, he could always try and swoop back into the main, but he may be a little bit cautious knowing that there was a mine on the edge already once before. And what is Cyan doing from here?
Yeah, this is really interesting because I was like, is this just one disruptor or is this actually going to be blink disruptor? No, it's actually going to be blink disruptor, Zaf. It's one Colossus with no range and a drop, and it's just going to go pure disruptor blink after this. Oh, very nice. Even going to warp in a few zealots here with this Colossus, but maybe staying a bit too long.
A little bit cheeky. Auto turrets come down. He's not quite targeting that Warp Prism, so we'll get away for the moment. Time has to pull some units in to deal with those charge lots. Sorry, zealots didn't have charges yet.
Yeah, but this is really cool though, because you don't know you're up against Blink Disruptor yet, right? You've just used all your Raven energy.
Yes,
and this feels like Cyan's like just going to do an old school early legacy pushing style where it's like, no, I'm just in your face throwing disruptor shots, picking off everything with Stalkers. These Stalkers coming in right now wants to try and break this position. Ooh, a bit of a crazy engagement. Time is going to punish this so hard. Those siege tank shots are brutal.
Oh, that's such a low Colossus. He does save it for the moment. A little bit fresh there. The disruptors were only like 15 seconds behind that, but another big warpid coming in. He's going to continue pressing the issue here. He's getting the upgrades behind this +1 charge lots, and there's not that much here on the ground for Time just yet. It's really only the one siege tank and a bunch of bio, a single medevac in position at the moment as well. And yeah, you're definitely going to want that bunker there, mate. Yeah, decent dodge there.
Let's get a few units though, and now the Stalker's coming forward. Swapping into Zealots and Archons behind us, so it's not a double down on it, but it's just kind of a, hey, let's do a Blink Disruptor for a little bit and try to do the next stage. Cyan's staying very flexible, but yeah, that first attack on the third definitely, I think, sacrificed a few too many Stalkers, and now Time has managed to batten down the hatches. He's secured the mast. I think he's trying to set up to weather this Protoss storm, and every game it's been the same. Time tries to go a ridiculously fast 4th command center. Cyan tries to kill him. It's happening one more time. Time is aware, though. He's got the scouts out. The Marine sees these Zealots getting set up. He knows that this is a high likelihood. His tanks on the third, they're out in the open. He doesn't have that many units altogether. But at the same time, Cyan's army is not massive. This is not like a huge Zealot count.
No, with the SimCity, it's a little bit harder to actually get in here too. Might give the tanks an extra couple of shots. He does stim, having to deal with the Zealots that came in from the side as well. Disruptors are on the front lines ready to pop. And he has to back up from that.
Disruptors. This is so good, though. If you can just zone out the bio with the Disruptors, that bunker is doing so much damage. Finally, it goes down. There's still 2 Disruptor shots off cooldown there. Tries to come forward with the bio, but ooh, yeah, the Disruptor shots will secure the retreat there, at least for a little bit. And Cyan, unfortunately, had lost the Prism. Not able to warp in more units, but has a 4th base behind it. 2-1 upgrades versus 2-2. I keep looking at these fights and going, who's coming out ahead? And I'm really not sure. The 4th command center survived and just finished. I think we're just going to the late game.
I think so. So we're following a common theme here, aren't we? And I gotta say also, I cannot believe that Colossus is still alive. It's been on such low health for so long, but it refused to die. And Cyan's going to continue the aggression here. Could get the sensor turret, prevents that bunker from being rebuilt there as well. There's a nice supply drop on the front lines if you want to snipe that later. But to continue this Zealot harassment. And this is such a strength of Cyan's play to keep coming in with charge lots, with DTs, even a single Colossus, whatever floats your boat. He's always got something happening on Time's side of the map. And Time does a pretty good job at cleaning it up, but eventually he will slip. There's always one time where he just doesn't quite have enough of a spread, or he doesn't have the detection to defend against this ongoing harassment. Even now he's having a little bit of a bad day with these Stalkers because he just doesn't actually have that much fire to run around.
Prism comes in the main. There is 4 Marines there. I think the Zealot drop could go for it, but another 8 Marine drop returns, and 12 Marines, more than enough to defend the Warp Prism. Army, of course, on the south side, it's still a bit bare bones, right? It's a bunch of Disruptors, Archons, Colossus, lots of splash damage. It's explosive. You surround that with bio and it can go down rather quickly, though. There's not a lot of meat there. This is, though, Cyan sensing I have the advantage and I want to keep pushing this. Time is spread out so thin. That's what happens on this map. Lightshade, you get so spread out. Look at the space between the 3rd and 4th. He can't cover them both at once. And this is what Cyan wants to punish. Coming in from both sides. Massive army swinging on both the front. Stalkers and Zealots on the north. The tech units on the south. The splash damage is going to come in big. Oh, not able to take out the planetary. Not able to take out the 3rd on the top either. It's going to have to withdraw. But Cyan did not lose many expensive units. That's a good trade so far. Still poised. Ready to pounce if there's an opening.
Yep, forced to repair that planetary again. The bio just having to bother with taking care of those charge lots first before anything else, and microing on 2 fronts because he's still got to deal with these Stalkers. If he goes forward just a little bit, he'll actually find the Warp Prism and be able to eliminate that. But he's got so much to think about at the moment because he's trying to keep his eyes on both sides of the map at once, even dropping the scan there just to make sure he knows what he's up against, because suddenly like 5 more Archons just joined the fray there, and that is suddenly a very, very beefy force that he's going to have to deal with. Now, does he have enough? There's ghosts here for the EMPs, but the Disruptor shots come forward and flush him out of there.
Yeah, I don't think he's got enough. He's looking to try and collapse on that southern army, but there's still so many units on the north. He's so active as Cyan, and Cyan continuing to look to trade here. The upgrade advantage, I believe, is there for Terran just slightly, but it's very close. Stalkers here, a few of them do go down. More Disruptor shots come forward. The tanks are going to fall, as will a bit of the bio. The Liberator, though, adding a nice bit of extra damage from above. 2 Colossus on the way, extended thermal lance, mass blink DT on the way as well. A 5th base is up. Cyan really feels like he's in control. I mean, one mistake in this position and Time will just die. He's already down 30 army supply. He's spread very thin. Cyan, he's looking for that moment. He hasn't found it just yet.
No. VT's coming in. There's missile turrets being added now, at least one in the third base, knowing that that's going to be coming in. But at the same time, Cyan seizes the opportunity. He moves into the fourth base. Disruptor hits go down on the SCVs. Time is desperately trying to come up the ramp and deal with this. A Liberator comes in to siege. The fourth base has fallen, and Cyan's got the high ground here as well. He's got a good engagement position here, and Time has to GG. Cyan is taking it to a game number 5. Guys, in the bottom right, in the blue from Brave Star Gaming, it's Cyan.
In the top left-hand side, normally the race that prefers this map, but he left it to last. And as the defender, will he be able to hang on such a short rush distance? In the top left, in the red, it is Time.
This is a different flavor. That's for sure. We've had a lot of long macro, base tradey, scrappy games that have been so much fun. But maybe you take a different approach on the map with a very short rush distance.
Yeah, I wonder, because Time seems to be wanting to just defend. I don't know if it's the right tack. This map is so popular for those really quick tank pushes, but
yeah,
definitely something that can, it's a lot more committed than what Time's been favoring. Time's been favoring like dynamic light harassment into 3-base play. Really mega macro play. On Jagannatha, he played like the old school standard. Widowmine drop into 3 racks into a big old push attempt and a very late third base. And, you know, as much as he won that game, I think he was in a bit of a rough spot on it. So, I don't know, maybe go back to that middle of the road build here on a small rush distance map. We will see the probe, of course, being nice and annoying. There is a Reaper coming out this time around. So no Marine first opening. It's Reaper into Marine, Adept on the other side of things for Cyan, just now being chrono boosted. Reaper going to come across the map. Factory is on the way. The SCV scouted everything. Ooh, nice job on this probe. Oh, gets it. Wow.
Very nicely done. Yeah, Time hasn't been that big on the tank pushes. Even when they're all the rage, you don't really see him do that much of it, at least not the super committed version, which I think is really cool, because now the meta's shifted a little bit. I feel like it's just kind of played into his hands, because he hasn't had that many adjustments to make in his play. But yeah, Cyan has actually opted for the Robo again here in the early stages of the game.
Well, you know, there's no ramp on the natural, right? This was the build on Oxide, and Time has been skipping the bunker every single game. And actually, it wasn't. Oxide was 3-gate, wasn't it? Sorry, I'm thinking of the Colossus build. That was just the previous map, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Right,
Jagannatha. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh!
Ooh.
That was a cute little move, but he does see the Robo though.
Yeah, that's important. Now, there is a second and a third gateway, though. And the prism, so I'm keeping my eye on the probes. Already a tiny gap in probe production. No, only a fraction of a second. Nothing to pay attention to. Because you can go for a really committed prism drop with this, but it doesn't look like it. I don't think the prism and the gateways are early enough to be like the super hard one. I think it's just going to be a bit of a depth drop pressure, microing in and out. Now, with a Cyclone that's already out, that's not going to go too well. The Adepts dive forward, but the Cyclone does mix those odds up a little bit. And does take out a bunch of Marines, but all 3 Adepts going down. I think that's an okay trade for Time.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And if he continues forward on the right path, he's actually going to see this before it arrives at his base. He will be meeting the Stalkers and Warp Prisms in the middle of the map. Tiny lock on there as he moves back towards the safety of the natural. A tank is almost out here as well, and that's going to help a lot with defense. And Cyan will have to assess where he wants to try and press the issue here. A bunker coming out for Time as well now, because he doesn't want to risk it, knowing, okay, this is another game where you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on me. The first game was the only one where he decided he didn't need a bunker, but since then he's realized he needs a lot of defense here. Bunker finishes just in the nick of time, And he does have to get out of there with those stalkers.
You can see the way Cyan moved forward, wanted to snipe the tank for a moment there, then thought better of it and did pull out. Keeping all the stalkers alive is very impressive. He's going to continue to try and do stalker drops just around the backside. And just staying out of tank range, denying a couple mineral patches, gets the depot in production. Doesn't even get cancelled, actually. 3 SCVs. Really nice. Ooh, such good micro by Cyan. Just picking off so much stuff. Really not losing any units. Sees now that there is that quick second barracks, and that's got to ring alarm bells for Cyan, because some very powerful pushes can come off of that. Immediately chrono boosts the extended thermal lance upgrade, drops the third nexus, and the forge is going down as well. But remember, no Twilight Council in this game, and Cyan does have to ask for the pause there.
With being up front at all times, finding ways to use this warp prism. But now he sees this force moving out from time. A couple of tanks, still got the Cyclone in tow, and the Marines. And he's got to watch out for this. What does he have to defend against this?
Yeah, the Colossus is almost here, but if the tanks get sieged, then the Colossus can't fight them. So this is such a nice push timing, right? The Colossus is like literally walking out now, and if he intercepted this with the Colossus, this army gets toasted. He's going to try and flank it. Oh, is that a Zealot drop? Oh, very nice.
Very cool. He's actually going to get rid of one of the tanks at the very least, but now spending all that time focusing on the siege tank. Oh, he tries to get the Colossus, but Cyan saves it beautifully. The Cyclone very bruised as well, and they have to agree to disagree there and head on home. Cyan having that cancelled third, and time staying intact for the most part. Does lose a couple of siege tanks, but you got something done there. Reaper somehow finds a way back into the base, gets a couple of probe kills. Very cool.
Indeed. Fascinating to see how that's going to evolve. Third command center goes down on location there. You know what? It looks kind of even here. The third base staying alive for Cyan was very important. But losing all of those stalkers, it does take away a bit of your flexibility, and being forced into the Zealot's not that great. However, answering with a bit of damage of his own. The Cyclone really wanted the lock on the Prism. Not going to be able to work that. Ooh, some Vikings though. Oh, you got to recall the Colossus. Yeah. Oh, now is he going to lose both?
Can he? Oh, half
well
a hit.
Done. Imagine if that Prism got out as well. Wouldn't that just be... Like, Cyan has been saving so many units in dire situations this game. Vikings are faster. They should be able to secure that, though.
If that Warp Prism escaped, I'd have to call the police, honestly, because that would just be too ridiculous. But yes, he does get something for his troubles here. And time is going to head out once again. Another 2 tanks. Vikings in the mix now. There's one very hurt Colossus. He doesn't get a chance to siege through. Goes through on the front lines there. He sieges up with the other tank. Here in the choke, going to continue moving forward.
It's a lot of bio that's gone down, though. I mean, I like the decisiveness, but I also think this is madness from time. It feels like this attack's already almost being held. His medevacs are running dry. I like the elevate on the tank, but... Oh, I don't know. These Colossus coming. Zealots are done. Oh, this is a terrible situation for time. He's going to take out one Colossus. Can he get another? No, not at all. He's going to lose so many of his units here. The Marines have to pick up. Oh, he does save some of the bio. Good micro from time. I thought he was going to get completely wiped there, but he makes the best of a kind of rough situation, and he's keeping the worker count tied, which does favor him. The problem is the Colossus still stand and his Viking count's bad, and you've got Archons added in. So as this splash damage blossoms out for the Protoss, even though the worker count is good for the Terran, I'm not sure if his army is going to be good enough to deal with it.
That was a pretty spicy engagement for Cyan. He's been really good with his vision on the Terran army too. This is what's enabled him to make those decisions and get in there before time gets his ideal positioning. Now Cyan again looking for a way to push forward because he does have quite a force. Blink is halfway done, but he's going to maybe come in from 2 angles, peeling off those Zealots onto the left and keeping the Colossi and friends on the right. And that's not a very big Terran army. I mean, it is very spread out, so I guess when it's all together it looks a little bit more formidable. But I think he knows what's coming. He's got to back up. How is he going to defend against this? Or is Cyan going to be able to deliver the killing blow here? He's moving forward. He's on top of the tanks. 2 of them will fall. Zealot getting shredded, but the Colossus Ooh, one goes down to the other tank. There's one tank remaining. It's been adding so much damage to this force, and Cyan actually gets cleaned up completely.
What a hold there. There was a single spotting Marine on the left-hand side, bottom side, and it actually pulled half of the Zealot charge in the wrong direction. So Time had to cancel the charge on those Zealots, and then, Cyan had to cancel the charge, bring them manually up. They should have taken those tanks out a lot faster and closed in on that. But instead, that one Marine, when he attack moved, it aggroed them, and a nice hold from Time. Pulled a few SCVs in, but losing a few SCVs is not an issue at all because Cyan was so committed to that push. That one tank, by the way, that survived on red hit points as well, that thing did so much damage through that fight.
It's crazy how much of a difference it can make, right? If one tank survives or if one isn't killed quite fast enough, that can be the difference between a good fight and a bad fight for you in those scenarios. Again, Time's going to stim a single Marine forward, just trying to keep tabs on what's happening here. He may even get a couple of worker kills if he's lucky for his efforts. Cyan's already moving out once again, and if this Marine comes up, yeah, he sees Colossus, pulls him back for a moment, gets a scan as well, just to understand what he's up against here as he continues to consolidate forces. Another Marine on the left there catches those 3 Zealots out before they can come join the fray.
Much better army for Terran right now on the map, up about 20 army supply, but the Colossus Archon charge splash is there if they can connect with the Marines. I don't know, the numbers are so big for the Terran. Time doesn't even care, he just stims right through into it, doesn't even bother sieging the tanks. I mean, he's just looking impetuous, he knows that he's got such an army advantage. That 4th base is going to go down.
He's not even going to try and defend that, knowing he doesn't have much of an army. This looks scary for him. Huge EMPs on the forces here, and Time is going to stim through, try and take out this Protoss army. The Colossi are also hurt, but Cyan with some brilliant micro, keeping them alive much longer than they had any right to be. And that is it. Time. Whew.